All right, shalom everyone, and peace of the Lord to all of you. I hope you can hear me very well, and we will have some good time together. Let us see if the
All right,
sound.
shalom everyone,
and my
peace
voice
of the Lord to
coming.
all of you.
Let us see. For some reason, I hear a noise in the background. I'm trying to fix it. Give me a minute. Anyway, our topic, I made a video about potato. I don't know how many of you saw it. And, it's almost like I was going to, I feel in love with potato. Potato is very tasty. Now, potato with makeup is a different story. But in that video, Abdul, he left a comment. And this Abdul, he put his name there, and like he's saying, I'm here, contact me. So I left I left for him a text message asking him to join us if he dare. Maybe he can, maybe he dare, who knows. And if he is here, he is welcome to join us. If we go to the text he posted, we know that Muslims are so much obsessed with Paul. Every single Muslim, he have an obsession with Paul. So this is his text, as you see in the screen. Paul never met Jesus during his lifetime and therefore didn't receive direct teaching from him, as the disciple did. Furthermore, Jesus never mentioned Paul. And here you see the stupidity of those Muslims. Every Muslim is a donkey until he proves the opposite. So if we take Paul aside and say, okay, according to you, Muslims, by the way, according to you, Muslim, Jesus met Paul. And I will show you from your stupid books. However, if we assume that Paul should not be there, take Paul away. All the four Gospels say the same as Paul. So what you will do now? Name one thing for me about Jesus being God and the Son of God. They disagree with Paul. So Paul is just one more person to confirm, not one more person to oppose. And I find it very funny and hypocrisy of the Muhammadan. You talk to Muslim about any verse in the Quran and says, let us see Ibn Kathir. Is Ibn Kathir, even he is a companion of Muhammad? Ibn Taymiyyah, like who is Ibn Taymiyyah? Like, who's this guy? People, they came, 1,000 years after Muhammad. They never met Muhammad, and you take their opinion in what Muhammad said, and you take it as if it is God talking. Do you see who is the one is a hypocrite and stupid? So if you are a person who will not accept teaching of somebody did not meet the person which the teaching came from, then every book you have should be burned, including the Quran. You take the Quran from Hafs, a person who never met Muhammad, he never saw Muhammad, he never spoke to Muhammad, he came 200 years after Muhammad. And not only that, the Muslim accused Hafs to be a liar, and he steal book, and he's a thief, him and his father, stepfather. So you take the Quran from two, none of them is accepted. Even the hadith of Hafs is rejected. Any hadith Hafs he say, Muslim, they say he's not trustworthy. So how you take the Quran from him? How you take the Quran from Sahih al-Bukhari, which a book never exists? There's no book is called al-Bukhari. Al-Bukhari is, according to Muslim, is a book taken from the student of al-Bukhari. But al-Bukhari never Muhammad, he's not even an Arab. This guy from the city of Bukhara. Same for Sahih Muslim. You take things from people never met Muhammad, never saw Muhammad. Do you see the hypocrisy of the Abdul? Every Abdul is a hypocrite. It's a must. You cannot be Abdul and you are not hypocrite. And then he says here, could Paul have thought to gain importance through deceptive claims, particularly by elevating Christ to the status of God, as can be seen in Mark? I find this is very stupid of you to say such a thing, because Paul is not the first one to mention that Jesus is God. All the disciples, they agree. In fact, you are mentioning the book of Mark, right? What is the first verse in the book of Mark? The first verse. Is that Paul too? Is that Paul? Who is Jesus according to Mark? Verse number 1. He is the Son of God. And the book we are going to read is what? Is the gospel of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. So why you don't accuse Mark of doing the same? He just elevate Jesus to be God, for he is the Son of God. Do you see how stupid those Muhammadan? Every Muhammadan is a mule. Everyone. In the first chapter, you see, I'm quoting the book he is quoting. I'm not using, look like he trusts Mark, huh? In the same chapter, if you go a little bit down, speak about John the Baptist and Jesus. He met him in the river of Jordan. What happened there? One of the greatest prophets is John the Baptist. His name is mentioned here. I indeed have baptized you with water, but he shall baptize you with the Holy Ghost. And that destroy your religion from the beginning to the end. Because according to Muslims, Holy Ghost is an angel Jibreel. You cannot baptize by Jibreel. And then Jesus came to the scenery, and he was baptized by John in the river of Jordan. And straight away, coming up out of the water, he saw the heaven opens, and the Spirit like a dove descend upon him. Upon whom? Jesus. And there come voice from heaven saying, Thou art my beloved Son, in whom I will pleased. And again we see the Spirit mentioned again here. So Abdul, who is trying to find a solution, he is desperate to supposedly debunk that Jesus is God. He erased his religion in the process, and he get himself busted, as you see. So if Paul is there or not, nothing will change. Nothing will change. Now let's go and see if Paul he met with Jesus or not. Shall we? If we go in the Quran, the yellow pages of Muhammad, which written by people never met Muhammad, never saw Muhammad, and nobody knows who they are actually. The Muslim, they claim that they knew their names, but we will go with that. Chapter 36, verse number 14. The Quran speak about the three messengers, and they are the messengers of Jesus. You open the tafsir and you check it out yourself. (36) 14. We go to the interpretation, and we can show you this, by the way, in many books, not only Ibn Kathir, you know, but this is their famous scammer. Ibn Kathir, by the way, he was like a YouTuber these days who's trying to refute the Christians, but in the process, as all Muslim Abdul doing Dawah, they make poo-poo and they destroy Islam. So if we go here, it says that the Messiah, he sent his disciples to preach the gospel. First, he sent two messengers. The first one, the name of the first two messengers were Shamun or Simon Peter and John. And the name of the third one was Boulos, as it says in Arabic for the Muslim, which means Paul. And that city was the city of Antioch. So the Quran confirms that the three messengers are the messengers of Allah, in the same time they are the messenger of Jesus. And here you see how the stupid Muhammad proved that Jesus again is God, because Jesus cannot make you a messenger of God unless he's God. A prophet cannot make you a messenger of God. We're not talking about somebody who carry letters. We are talking about someone, a messenger of God. Read the Quran carefully what it says. When we send them two messengers, who is talking? Allah. Those are messengers of Allah. Are you with me? I cannot make you a messenger of God unless I am God. I cannot make somebody a messenger of God because that's not my authority. If I am a messenger of God, I cannot make you because I got my title from God, not from myself. No human being can make you a messenger of God, especially in Islam, except Allah. So the Quran confirmed that there's a 3 messengers. And if you ask every Muslim, okay, who is a Muslim who can count for us, who are they, those 3 messengers? Any Abdul? Who is Abdul is willing to tell us who are they, those 3 messengers? Anyone? What kind of a book? It doesn't say what it's talking about. So your Quran confirm that those are the messenger of the Messiah sent by the Messiah, and yet the Quran claiming that those are messenger of Allah. And as you see, the city is Antioch. Now we know what is Antioch for the Christians, and who are those messengers of God who went to Antioch. So you stupid Muslim keep going after Paul like dogs with rabies. Did your prophet ever mention that the one who corrupted the Bible according to you is Paul? Never. So who is the one who came with this story? Are you saying to me that your stupid God and your stupid prophet, he forgot to mention the name of Paul? Huh? Look like the Muslims today, they knew more than their prophet. I like it. Because Muhammad don't know that Paul is the one who caused the damage according to the Muslims. But the Muslims today, they knew. They are not stupid like Muhammad. Are they? They are not. Muhammad himself do not know. Muslim they knew. A genius nation. If you open even Tafsir al-Baghawi, which is the master of Ibn Kathir, he say exactly the same. Tafsir. Al-Baghawi. The stupidity of Muslims is beyond questioning. Let us see. Actually, we can find the same story even in the book of Ibn Kathir, Al-Bidayah and Al-Nihaya. All right. This is Tafsir al-Baghawi. what Al-Baghawi is saying right away in the first 3 words. إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين قال وهب اسمهما يوحنا وبولس. Translation.
When we sent to them two, Wahb said, their names were John and Paul.
So when the stupid Abdul, he said that Jesus never met with Paul, how Paul becomes a messenger sent by Jesus and by Allah in the same time? Any Muslim have an answer? Any Muslim who drink camel urine, he can help us? Huh? How he become the messenger of Allah and the messenger of Jesus in the same time? Yet Paul, according to the scholar of your scholars, Al-Baghawi, he is a messenger of God. All right? I want people in the chat not to ask me for things that have nothing to do with the topic. Don't act like a kid. Go and check the 70 women from hell. Okay, this is the topic now. Try to be mature. Ask yourself first. I mean, the guy just started a topic to refute the guy, and you are asking me to go to somewhere else. Are we done? Focus, focus. Don't be Abdul. Abdul, his brain is not with him. We talk about the blue sky, he will be thinking about if his wife, she shaved her vagina yet or not. So here you see the stupidity of this garbage religion. In one hand, their prophet never mentioned Paul. In any negative, never speak and say one word against Paul. Maybe Muhammad never heard of Paul. Impossible, because we will show you. But Muhammad himself, he copied verses and hadith from Paul. Yes. There's verses in the Quran, and there's a very authentic hadith. It's exactly what Paul said. Right? So if Paul was a fraud, then the one who copied the fraud must be a fraud. Kabich? Kabich, Abdul? It's obvious. How in the world this Paul is a bad person and he is a thief and he is a liar, and then Muhammad, he copied his words and he put it in the Quran? But we will go to that later. This is the book of Al-Bidayah and An-Nihaya. And I know this guy will never dare to call me. Most likely he's from Pakistan, maybe. Or actually, he sounds like a Moroccan name. He will have a broken Arabic, obviously, if you speak Arabic. Look, the page is not opening. Come on. Bidayah and Nihaya. Something wrong with the page. It's not opening. All right. Until that one work, we can figure out something else. This is a book, tafsir, it's called Majma'ul Bayan. What happened? This thing is not working. All right, good. Again, who are they?
Shu Ba said, the names of the two apostles were Simon and John, and the name of the third was Paul.
Wonderful. And who is the one who sent them? Isa, Jesus. The Muslim, they call him Isa. Do you see it, Abdul? Do you see it, Abdul? Allah Almighty attribute them to himself because Jesus, peace be upon him, sent them by his command. Do you see it, Abdul? Hold on. If the authority, if Allah is saying that he is the one who sent them, he is the one who sent those messengers. All right? Allah claimed that he is the one who sent them. But the same page says the one who sent them is Jesus. And they are trying to explain why Allah he said that he is the one who he sent them. But they fail.
God Almighty added them to himself because Jesus, peace be upon him, sent them by his command. They said, indeed, we are messengers to you.
So here you notice Muhammad he just claimed that Jesus is Allah. Because if Jesus sent you as a messenger, Allah is the one who sent you. Can Muhammad make you a messenger in Islam? No. No. Only Jesus can do that. It's in front of you. Are we making things up? Abdul, are we making things up? Potato. And now what they will say? Ibn Kathir is an idiot. Al-Baghawi an idiot. All the scholars of Islam, they are idiot. We understand. I agree. All of you are a bunch of idiots. But the funny, those idiots as your scholars, and you always use their words to prove your point. In other way, they are your best idiot. And it's very funny that the best idiot are more idiot than the idiot themselves. Huh? I'm trying to open Ibn Kathir, but look like their website is down. But let us see a different website. Yeah, maybe we can go back later, because I tried to open many times this website. It's not working. We will see. So until now, the conclusion is not working good for the Abdul. And as you see, Paul, he never say one word more than other disciple of Jesus, and he do not need to elevate Jesus. Actually, do Jesus need to be elevated in your religion? When the Dajjal see Jesus, when Satan he see Jesus, he will be dissolved like salt in water. As you see in your stupid religion, Jesus, he can make messengers, which means he can hire Muhammad to be a messenger. Correct? I did not even go to check what Paul said. But let us focus on something hurt the feeling of Muslims more. When you're a prophet, he described heaven. Your heaven is stolen from Paul. Is that right? Your heaven stolen from Paul. Can somebody post for me 1 Corinthians 2? Let me look for it. 1 Corinthians 2. Who is the one who created your heaven? Paul. Remember, Paul is a fabricator. Paul is, according to them, Paul is a fabricator, a liar, a deceiver, a fraud. Well, guess what? That means the Quran is written by Paul. This is 1 Corinthians. Can you read, Muslims? But as it's written, eye has not seen, nor ear heard, neither have entered into the heart of a man the things which God has prepared for them that love him. Who is this talking? Paul. We go to the theft of Muhammad in the Quran. And remember, this is Quran now. And the hadith. Let us go to the hadith first. So if Muhammad copying from Paul, that means, and Paul is a fraud, that means Muhammad is a fraud. And this is Sahih al-Bukhari. It is the word of Paul, letter by letter. Do we see it? Guys, isn't it word by word? The Prophet of Allah said, Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, they have to, Allah, he pray on him, Allah, he pray on Muhammad. Sure. I mean, Allah is just a sex toy. Muhammad, he used them to approve himself. I have prepared, that Allah said. This is not Muhammad saying. Remember, this is Quran. This hadith is Quran. This is not hadith, even though it's in the hadith. And by the way, Muslims, why it's not in the Quran if Allah said? As long as this is Allah said, why it's not in the Quran? The goat ate it. As you see, it says Allah said. Allah said, that means Quran. Allah said, I have prepared for my righteous slaves, as no eye has ever seen, nor an ear have ever heard, nor a human heart can ever think of. Let us go to Paul. But as it is written, God said, as it's written mean, God said, eye has not seen, nor ear heard, neither have entered to any heart of a man the thing which God had to prepare for them that love him. Allah said, it turned to be Allah as Paul. Allah said, correct? Are you sure? Abdul, are you sure that the one who said this is Allah? Hold on, I have a caller. Hello? Get a breath. First of all, it's very obvious that Prophet Muhammad, he was exist before Paul. Zakir, Naik, what do you mean exist before Paul? Muhammad came 600 years after. Get a breath. First of all, you are so stupid. Prophet Muhammad, he said he was the prophet before Adam was the prophet. He was before Adam, huh? Yes, exactly. Zakir, Abdul, your prophet, he came literally more than 600 years. You remember the story when his mother, she gave birth to him, and then a rocket came from her vagina and the light went all the way to Damascus? You remember? Get a breath. First of all, this story is very accurate. Like Abdul, how come the light went to Damascus and those who live in next to house, they did not see it? I mean, did the light reach Mecca? Shouldn't reach Mecca first? Everybody would go blind. The light is so powerful. Get a breath. First of all, the Prophet Muhammad, his mother vagina was very tiny, but because he was directing his legs, and she was opening her leg to the direction of Damascus, so the rocket, the light became like a rocket and went all the way to Damascus only. Only people in Damascus, they received. So people between did not see anything. Exactly. I think this is the same what happened in the story of splitting the moon. Nobody saw it. Exactly. And actually, Christian Prince, I started liking you. You are really smart. Abdul, what's wrong? I was joking. Christian Prince, no. You agreed and you admitted. It's recorded. Listen. You are from Pakistan. From India. India is next to Saudi Arabia. So when the moon is split, did the Pakistani people see it? Christian Prince, first of all, Pakistani people did it very early. But not a single one. Like Christian Prince, very simple. We Pakistani people will see very early because we take drugs. You take drugs. Okay. What about the Hindus? Christian Prince, first of all, the Hindus are big fat liar. At that time, you are a Hindu. You forgot? Christian Prince, I have to go. Abdul, wait. At that time, you were a Hindu. Islam did not come to you yet. Muhammad is not. Muhammad is just born. What do you mean the Hindus? Christian Prince, I told you I have to go. Like, I'm not holding you from your tail. Christian Prince, I'm going to sue you for public defamation because you said I have a tail. You are talking like cow dance because he said that the female is a male. Zakir Naik, are you a male? Prove it. Christian Prince, I'm going to sue you in the court of law. What law? Look, Allah said, I have prepared for my righteous slaves what no eye ever seen, nor an ear has ever heard, nor a human heart can ever think of. This is exactly the word of Paul. Your God is Paul. Admit it. Christian Prince, first of all, you are stupid. And you are stupid, and you are stupid. Huh? Zakir Naik, why you are repeating things 3 times? Christian brothers, you are stupid. Prophet Muhammad would repeat things 3 times. Do he believe in the Trinity? Christian brothers, you are so stupid. So why he repeating 3 times? Tell the audience once. Why? Christian brothers, it's very known that Prophet Muhammad repeat 3 times because people are stupid. Ah, so he repeat 3 times because you Muslims are stupid. Christian brothers, you are evil. He's talking to the Muslims. You said to me he repeat 3 times because people are stupid. Now, after he repeat things 3 times, do you understand the Quran? No. So do you see how easy to smash the head of the Abdul? Allah said, and this is again Sahih al-Bukhari. This is Sahih al-Bukhari, and this is Quran. This is not hadith. This is not hadith, even though it's in the hadith, because this says Allah said. Can the Muslim they say this is the da'if? No. Can they say this is fabricated? No. And as long Muhammad is copying the word of Paul word by word, that means your God is Paul. From now on, all of you Muslims, you bow down in the front of Paul. And Paul will bow down in the front of Jesus, and he will say to him, forgive them, they are a bunch of idiots. I don't know from which country they are coming from. I have nothing to do with them. They are Abdul, donkeys. I keep saying to them, I am not your God. They keep saying to me, you are Allah. Otherwise, explain to us why Allah is copying your word. Idiot. Certified idiot. Right? Other disaster. Other disaster. Muhammad, in different hadith, he made the same poo-poo, copying Paul, word by word. The believer, they are one body. If one part of the body hurt, the whole body will respond, will be hurt. Who said that? Muslims? Who said that? According to you, Muhammad. From where he learned that? From Allah. And guys, notice when Muhammad he copied from Paul, you will see in the hadith something unique. What is that? Allah said, Messenger of Allah said. Allah said, when Muhammad he speak, it's Allah speaking. Here it says clearly, Allah said. Here it says the message of Allah said, but this is Allah speaking too, because Muhammad don't speak according to the Quran. وَمَا يَنْطُقُ عَنِ الْهَوَى. He don't speak of any of his own desire. This is why the Muslims, they worship al-Bukhari. All right? Muhammad, he never speak anything of his own desire. This is the word of Allah. So when Muhammad he said, Shaitan, he play with your anus and the hadith, well, this is Allah talking. When Muhammad is claimed that Shaitan sleep in your ears, sleep in your nose and piss in your ears, that's Allah is talking. When Muhammad speak about going inside the bathroom with the left foot and reciting a prayer before you enter, otherwise shaitan will play with your butt and will insert his penis inside you. Allah is talking. وَمَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَى إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَى. It's only an inspiration that he is inspired. Nothing he say except from Allah. It turned to be nothing he said except it is from Paul. Here we showed you from 1 Corinthians, right? Okay. We will stay with 1 Corinthians. We will not go far. Imagine if we are going to go really far and study every verse. Muhammad, he stole from Jesus and from Paul and from Mark and from John. Endless. All right. You know, always I find it fascinating how ignorant and stupid the Muslims are. They do not know the religion, and they never heard of their own religion. They never heard. They talk too much. Let us see. Are we in the correct location? Let us see. All right. Give me a second. Trying to remember, as I remember, it is in here, but just I want to be sure. Potato, potato, potato. Potato, potato, potato. Every Abdul is a potato. Prove me wrong. I mean, they themselves, they admit that Muhammad is illiterate, don't they? Don't the Muslims agree that Muhammad is illiterate? Yes, they agree. Yeah, actually I was right, but I, by mistake, I typed here 14. It should be 12. Yeah. If you read with me here, it is 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse number 14. For the body is not one member, but many. And then he explained more. So Muhammad, he make it all in one sentence. When all the body, we are one body, and when the body is hurt, the rest of the part of the body, they will respond, which means they will feel the pain. exactly what Paul he said, copying him again word by word, but he make it summarizing, like he summarized what Paul said. Let us see. When Muhammad he speak about the false Messiah, where he got that from? From Paul. Muslims, which verse in the Bible speak about the false Messiah, which is the you call him the Messiah, the Dajjal? The Messiah he spoke in general. He says there is false prophets, and someone will say the Messiah came here, the Messiah appear there. Don't believe them. But where in the Bible speak about Al-Masih Dajjal, the Messiah, the liar, the Antichrist? Paul. Where Muhammad he copied that from? From Paul. Do we have any Muhammadan between the bushes? If you read the whole Quran, you will not find the Messiah, the Dajjal. You will find it only in those books, in the Hadith. There's no the Messiah, the Dajjal in the Quran. Why the Quran did not mention such a very important thing? Allah he forgot? Do we have any Muslim? If we go to Thessaloniki chapter 2, let me open it, hold on. Thessaloniki 2. I'm typing in Arabic. Sometime, you know, your keyboard is switch. Come on. So if we go there, we will find the astonishing and the following. Let us see. All right. Astonishing thief. Astonishing thief. All right. This is the false Messiah, the Masih ad-Dajjal, and here is mentioned by Paul. Chapter 2, 2nd Thessaloniki. This is how I say it in Arabic, by the way. You say it Thessalonian, chapter 2. And here Paul is speaking about the false Messiah who will try to deceive many and they will become apostate. Do you see it? All right. Where in the Quran we can find the false Messiah? Nowhere. Where we can find it, it's in the Hadith. What the Hadith says, remember in the Bible nowhere is mentioned except this. Those verses, you will not find them in the 4 Gospels. You will find them in the written or the writing of Paul. So there is no other place Muhammad he can copy from. Are you getting my point? There's no other place Muhammad he can copy from, because this is only mentioned here. And this false Messiah, he will claim to be God. This is why you see Muhammad here saying that you might think that Allah is the Messiah. Why? Because the false Messiah, he claimed to be Allah. Do you see it? So Muhammad now is copying from Paul, trying to say to them, this is not Allah. But remember, the guy, he announced himself to be the Messiah. But yeah, even though he is just saying I'm the Messiah, but the Messiah is God. You see how stupid Muhammad is? Look what he says. The Prophet mentioned the Masih ad-Dajjal. Masih means the Messiah. Ad-Dajjal, by the way, it's not ad, al, but you know, the Muslim they type it this way in English, so the stupid Abdul who do not know Arabic, they can read. The liar, the Messiah, the liar, in front of the people saying Allah, he said, Allah is not one-eyed, while the Messiah, the liar, is a blind in the right eye, and his eye looked like a plugging out a grave. But look what Muhammad did here. He copied the prediction and the prophecies about the false Messiah from Paul. If a Muslim can tell me how it happened and why it happened, I challenge you to be my hero. He cannot copy it from other book, because this is the only book it mentioned this. That there's a person, he claimed to be the Messiah, and he made himself God. He claimed to be God. And here Muhammad is saying, yes, there is a Messiah, he is a false Messiah, and he claimed to be God. Be careful, he is not Allah. How we know? He looked exactly like Allah. The only difference between him and the true Allah is one eye. Which means Muhammad is admitting that the Messiah is God and Allah have a flesh of body of a human being. Because the false Messiah is a person with the flesh like the Messiah. He is saying I am the Messiah. He's not even saying anything. He's saying I am the Messiah. So what the response of Muhammad? Don't be confused. He is not your God. He did not say because he's a human being. No. He did not say because he have a body of a human being. No. He said there's only one thing different between them, the right eye. So in this story, Muhammad, he admitted many things. That Jesus is God. And Allah is a man. And the false Messiah and Allah, the only difference between them is one eye. And you know the funny is how stupid this cult is. The Muslim, they keep saying to us, Allah is not a man. Allah is not a man. You worship a man. Allah is not a man. Yes, Allah have hands. How his hand look like? Allahu Alam. How his foot? Allah have a foot. How his foot look like? Allahu Alam. Who cares? Allah. What do you mean? It's in front of you. The only difference between the false Messiah and Allah is one eye. Did Muhammad say Allah is not a man anyway? Why the Muslim would be confused if Allah is not a man anyway? And why Muhammad, he taught them that the only difference between the man who is the false Messiah and your God Allah is one eye. What about the penis? Is the penis of the false Messiah smaller or the same as the penis of Allah? Obviously the same. The same. What about the size of the balls? Are they in balance? Obviously they are the same. As you see, there's only one difference. One eye. And you know the funny, that this false Messiah, he can do miracles. He can do amazing miracle. According to Muhammad, he can chop a person, a human being, 2 pieces. And he put them 100 meters away from each other. And then he can command the 2 pieces human being to walk and join together and become a human being again alive. Such a person, he cannot fix his eye. Huh? Potato. And then we have to mention something more important. God is going to destroy this false person. What he will do? He will destroy him. The Lord will consume this false Messiah by just one blow of a breath from his mouth. And he will be destroyed. Muhammad said exactly the same about when Jesus, he meet the false Messiah. Abdul, this video will hurt the ass of your prophet for a century to come. Ouch. It hurt. Let me get the hadith for you. Look what Muhammad he said when the Dajjal he meet the Messiah. People will rank for a prayer and then the Messiah will come. Who? The Messiah, our Lord, with his glory, will come. Jesus, the son of Mary, will descend and lead them in a prayer. When God enemy, who is that? The false Messiah, see him who? Jesus, he will dissolve like salt in water. He will be destroyed. Well, this is what it says by Paul. When the Lord he come, this false Messiah, Antichrist, liar, will be destroyed and consumed as easy as making salt dissolve in water, one breath. So there's no other place in the Bible speaking about the false Messiah, which is the Dajjal, except what Paul said. If the Muslims want to say Paul is fabricating, that means Paul and Muhammad are fabricating. And because Paul he came long before Muhammad, obviously Muhammad is learning from Paul. Right? Nafty by nature, he wanna call me? I mean, his name is Nafty by nature, so you know, it sounds like a troll. Don't you tell the name sound like a troll? Get me someone, you have a serious name, not satanic name. So Muhammadan, why your God, Aka Muhammad, both of them they are copying Paul if Paul is a fraud and false. Can you tell me? And why your Islamic books, including the Quran, says that Jesus have 3 messengers, and your scholars they claim that this is Paul. Do you see how stupid your argument? We did not even share anything yet. We can continue doing this until tomorrow, showing you that Muhammad is a fraud stealing from Paul. He is a thief. It's obvious. When Muhammad he went in his journey to heaven. Where he got this from? From Paul. Chapter 17 in the Quran. Who is this person who went up to heaven? Muslims do not know. They say this is Muhammad. I will go with you. I will go with you, even though this is fit perfectly with the stories of Moses, according to the Quran. But I will go with you. If we go to 2 Corinthians, see, my keyboard keeps, switching to Arabic. Do we have any Muslim here listening? Do we have any Muslim? Smart one. Anyone? I know there's a lot of potatoes here, but if there's any Mohammedan would like to talk to me, no problem. Just whatever happened here will stay here. Whatever happened in Vegas will stay in Vegas. All right, don't worry about it. Nobody will, I mean, come on. If you are a Sheikh, Muslim will understand. Isn't it you Muslim, you agree that every Sheikh is an idiot and none of you knows what he's talking about? So Muslim will understand why it was horrible. Isn't it you Muslim who say there's hole in the narrative? The standard narrative has holes. Right? It does, right? Read what Paul he said to us. How that he was caught up into paradise and heard the unspeakable words which is not lawful for a man to utter. Of such one will I glory, yet of myself I will not glory, but in mine. Muslims, do you read? Did Muhammad copy this story here and he claimed that he is the one who been taken up to paradise, and he heard what nobody heard, and he saw what nobody saw? Huh? The thief Muhammad got busted. Got busted. And Abdul. And there's tons of verses in the Quran, non-stop. We can spend a century talking about Muhammad copying. I mean, if I talk about the copy, we will find how he copied from Jesus, he copied from John, he copied from Mark, he copied from Luke, he copied from every book. Any Muhammadan would like to help us to convert to Islam? I am convinced that Muhammad is a true prophet, since he promised me an endless penis. I hate to have 6-foot penis. I hate it. It's too small. It is time to increase. Endless penis, huh? Like, what the evidence that Muhammad is a prophet? He promised us endless penis. Oh, okay. What else? Oh, this penis will never go limp. So you cannot put it in the pocket, huh? No. You cannot, like, tie it up, roll it up. No, because it's never go limp. Okay, if it's an endless and I cannot roll it, okay, how I can walk with it? Your prophet must be from Allah. Allah, the God of penis. Who can argue that Allah is not God after this? This is a promise only come from a true prophet. And Abdul is giving us a speech about Mark, and maybe Paul is deceiving, lying. Any potato? We have in this proves that Muhammad is truly a prophet of Allah, which means a prophet of nobody, because Allah does not exist. I mean, he have an amazing prophecy. How Muhammad he knew that women she have semen, and the semen coming from her backbone? It's impossible for a human being to know that. The Muslim, in every article they say to you, 1400 years ago, how illiterate man, where there's no university, there's no science, he knew this. 1400 years ago, sure. Look, Muhammad, he found that men have a semen come from his back. By the way, my semen doesn't come from my balls, and I will prove it to you. I always put, especially when I go for a fight, I put my balls in the freezer. Why in the freezer? Because you never know. I don't trust my balls to be alone. The only way to cool them down, not to go around, is to put them in the freezer. Otherwise, they will do a lot of trouble. I don't want people to call the police for my balls doing something, the neighbor. So balls is not where the sperm is coming according to Muhammad. It's coming from the backbone of the man and the ribs of the women. Beautiful. It's so beautiful. Who can come with such a knowledge save Allah, Prophet? Actually, why wanna go to here? Let us go to Ibn Kathir. Give me a second. Excuse me. Ibn Kathir is better. Huh? Now don't tell me Ibn Kathir is a donkey. I know he's a donkey, I agree with you. But this will not solve the problem. You have two donkeys now. We have Muhammad and Ibn Kathir. Backbone, backbone. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when CP come to you? Backbone, backbone. Muslims, how Prophet of Allah he knew this? Hey, by the way, where is the interpretation in English is gone? What happened? You Muslim ate it, don't you? What is the interpretation? Water gushing forth between the backbone and the ribs. Okay, where it says the man and the women, they took it off. What the heck? They took it off. Maybe here, let's go down. Because you know they are always, they do that, you know, by the way. Aha, here we go. This is science. This is a pure science. He is created from a water gushing forth, gushing forth, gushing forth. He is created from a water gushing forth. Hey, meaning, now focus with us. Meaning, the sexual fluid that comes out bursting forth from the man and the women. Who? The baby is created from sexual fluid coming forth out from the man and the women. Ouch. You Muslims, women, they have sexual fluid, make babies, and that sexual fluid come out. So the woman, she open her legs, she makes sexual fluid. I can take it, put it in the pot. I put my semen in the top of it. We can have a baby. We mix the sexual fluid, huh? Thus, the child is produced from both of them by the permission of Allah. For sure, by the permission of Allah. In fact, me myself, I'm born by the permission of Allah, so I can kick his ass. يخرج من بين الصلب والترائب. Powerful. Proceeding from between the backbone and the ribs. Backbone, backbone. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when Joe Biden come to you? Backbone. Muslims, the sexual fluid come from the backbone of the man and the ribs of the woman. Read carefully. Meaning the backbone of the man and the ribs of the women. Many of you ask me why you don't get married. Brothers and sisters. Oh, forget about the sisters. Just, hey, sisters, get out of here. Get out of here. We cannot share with you this information because we men, we have the men club to fight against men against domestic violence of women. Yeah, there's an organization in Morocco. You can search it. Domestic violence, defense of men rights. Women in Morocco, because each one of them, her butt is 10,000 kilograms. One hit with the butt, you're dead. Men in Morocco are so skinny, you know. She sat on him, he's dead. He cannot breathe. So, meaning the backbone of the man and the ribs of the women, which is referring to her chest. Now I want to tell you a secret which you are men only. I don't want to share this with women. They are our enemy. You know that. Ask Andrew Tate. Women are his enemy. But the scumbag, everything he wear is made to him by the vagina of women. Trashy scumbag. Going back to our topic, where were we? Joe Biden? Kamala Harris has been burdened by what has been? Kamala Harris can explain to you this verse way better than Ibn Kathir, trust me. She will take a cup of vodka and she will the backbone of the men and the ribs of the women. The Quran here is speaking about the backbone of Joe Biden and the ribs of Nancy Pelosi. Focus, focus. So according to Muhammad, women, they have semen coming from their ribs specifically. Specifically, there, the location is the chest. Listen to me. Women don't have a breast. The two things you see there, they are big balls. You men, you think you have balls? You don't. Check it out. And this is where semen coming from. They lie to you when they say those are breasts. The nipples is where they produce the semen. This is why the semen, according to science, is called Napoleon. And this is why the mother of Napoleon, she called him Napoleon Bonaparte. Why? Because it's Pono and part. There is a part, you know, in her nipples. The Pono part, like you go to the, hello, my car is broken, can you send me like a part, you know? Pono, part, you know? Just think about it. Yeah, we have to connect the dots, brother. Always we have to connect the dots. Muhammad is telling the truth. So women, they have balls. They don't have breast. And you stupid, you, my wife, she have nice breasts. You idiot, they are balls. You should hide yours. They're so small compared to what she have. Mean. Some women, they have really scary balls. Big, huge balls. Bambino balls. By the way, bambino is coming from the one baby and bino, which is word mentioned in the Quran, but the goat ate it. Anything you see in the world, the source of it is the Quran, even baklava. But in the Quran was coming as bugs and lava. You know lava, the volcano lava? Even the word Burkina Faso is coming from the Quran. Everything in the world is coming from the Quran. Quran is a source of knowledge. The book of knowledge. Look at, read it, read it. Women, she have semen, and the baby will not be produced except by that semen which is coming from her ribs. And those stupid people, they say to you, the Quran is not from God. Do you want more proof? Huh? And Muhammad, he explained to us more. He says, the backbone of the man and the ribs of the women. No wonder men in America, they love to eat ribs. Pervert people, huh? Now we know. He go, can you get, do you have ribs? Well, why? I want to do barbecue. Ribs? What about the hips? Nope. I like the ribs. Pervert. This is where women's semen coming from. Even when they are eating, they are doing sexual activities. Disgusting people. So the backbone of the man and the ribs of the women, we put them together, we make a baby. It is the fluid. Mean. So it's confirmed that it's a fluid, huh? Nothing solid. I was afraid of rocks. I heard that somebody one day he have a rock in the kidney, and he used to, because of pain, he flipped from pain, and this is why the music came, and they call it rock and roll. The guy, he rolled on the floor from pain. Rock and roll. What rock we are talking about? The kidney. Here, different story. Here it's a fluid. What kind of a fluid, Prophet Muhammad? It is yellow. What? The semen of the women is yellow? What is the connection between this and the occasion they have in the West? It's called Halloween. Later they add H to it and make it Halloween. That's scaring the hell of me. Is that a sexual disease? Why they have a yellow liquid coming out of the vagina? Any Muslim can explain the yellowish semen? So Muhammad, he says, the fluid is yellow and fine texture. This is for the women. And the child will not be born except from both of them, i.e. sexual fluid. Deep. What is that talking about? Let me show you. Prophet Muhammad, he explained in better details. I know many of you will end converting to Islam before we finish our topic here. By the way, I was searching for something else. Look what I found here. As long as it's in the front of us, let's read it. Abu Huraira, by the way, Abu Huraira means the father of the cat, the kitten. This guy was obsessed with cats. The Prophet said, no child is born, but Shaitan touch him. When he's born, whereupon he starts crying. Now we know why kids, they cry. You know, when my mother, she gave birth to me, I did not cry. The women who helped my mom to give birth is the one who cried, because I did bite her hand and I took her ring. Right away. I'm not out yet. Exception, exception. Because of being touched by Shaitan. Oh, Shaitan will not dare to touch me. Except Mary and her son. Why? That means Muhammad himself, Shaitan touched him. Yes. There's only one person, two persons according to Muhammad. Mary and her son, Shaitan cannot touch them. Well, that's because Mary is protected by Jesus. She is the mother of Jesus, because Jesus is going to be born from her, the plan. Stupid idiot Muhammad, got yourself busted. But anyway, where is the hadith? Let's see. All of us, we knew that Prophet Muhammad is a doctor. He's very well known with his science. Read this with me. Amazing. Professor Muhammad. So this is the book of menstruation. The book of what? Yes, the Muslim, they have a book. It's called the book of menstruation. The book of orgasm, the book of shed, the book of menstruation. Anyway, it's reported from the authority of Aisha. She have authority. She's a prophet too. That a woman, she came to the Messenger of Allah and she have an inquiry. We need Ali Dawah to read this for us, because he have a voice of a female. It doesn't work with me even if I try. She said to him, should a woman wash herself because she was touching her vagina? What? The Muslim, they try to make it look nicer. She say wash herself when she sees sexual dream. What was happening in the sexual dream? Look how Muslim women, they are so decent. They are very decent. Who's here? A woman, the Prophet, she want to ask you a very important question about her vagina. Oh, please, Immediately, and by the way, this woman later she offered himself to the Prophet to if her, and it turned to be that she is his anti-Trump. Prophet of Allah. Yesterday I was dreaming about CP. Oh, please don't ask me. I cannot tell you. No, I cannot tell you. Sorry, I cannot tell you what he was doing to me. No, tell us what happened. Oh, a lot of things. This guy is so crazy, so crazy. Please, 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 please. And did he hurt you? Oh no. It's totally the opposite. What you have done? Tell us so maybe I can learn and do it to my wives. Oh, Prophet of Allah. So for sure you can do better. No, seriously, I cannot even make my wife have orgasm. You will see it there actually in the hadith. So listen carefully. Should a woman wash herself after touching her vagina and get her vagina so wet? See a liquid. She see what? A liquid. What word? What she saw there? A liquid. What's wrong with you? You never heard the bank saying liquidation of the bank account? It's a liquid. Lick and wid. Somebody was licking somebody. The holy prophet is discussing the vagina. Oh. Said yes. Aisha said to her, may your hand be covered by the dust and injured. She just cursed her. She narrated, the Messenger of Allah said, leave her alone. Muhammad liked the topic. We just got a whore in the house. Tell me more about what happened to your vagina, what you have done. Aisha said, what the heck? What? She's asking my husband. She's coming all the way from Toronto to the city of Alberto to meet Mohammed the Bronto, asking him, is it okay if I wash after escorto? So the Prophet, he get upset from Aisha, said, leave her alone. In what way does the child resemble her? But for the fact that when the water, not gens, contribute by the women prevail upon those of men, the child will resemble the maternal family. In fact, in Arabic it says the child will be a boy and will look like the mother. Sorry, will look, be a girl, will look like the mother. And if the man have orgasm first, here I try translate it, lying to you. Let me show you how the Muslim they lie. This is about who comes first. Oh mommy, mommy blue. Oh mommy blue. Muhammad will blow your mind with his stories, man. He's expert, sex, everything. All right. So here it says, if the man, both, here, you see this hadith? Let us go here. This is Bukhari. See what it is? It's about discharge first. Discharge for orgasm first. So a Jew, he came to Muhammad. He told him, O Prophet of Allah, Habibi Muhammad, Arik Sharon say hello to you, and Netanyahu, Pipi, he say hello. We have 3 questions for you, and if you answer them, we can give you Gaza. Prophet Muhammad, he says, bring it on, I'm ready. Prophet Muhammad get excited. So the guy, he asked him the 3 questions, which nobody know the answer for them except the Prophet of God. What? Only Prophet of God know those answers. Look, read carefully. It says, I'm going to ask you 3 things which only a prophet can answer them. The funny is, when Muhammad he answered them, the guy he agreed. That means you're a prophet, because only a prophet of God know the answer. I mean, you see how stupid the story? Imagine I say to you, I will ask you a question, nobody answer it correctly except the prophet of God. But I have the answer already. But you just claim that only prophet know the answer. It turned to be you're a prophet too. But anyway, so he asked him 3 questions. What is the sign of the first hour? What is the first food people will eat in paradise? And why does the child attract the similarity of his father or his mother? Guys, those are very serious questions. I was asked the same question, and somebody challenged me to prove that I'm a prophet. They said to me, why somebody is born smart and somebody born stupid? And this answer, nobody know it except a prophet of Allah. I said to them, it's easy teasy. If somebody is born of a Democrat family, he is stupid. If somebody born of Republican, he is smart. They were astonished and they were said, Subhanallah, how he knew that. And since then, I am called Arabian prophet. And Joe Biden always consult with me about what time he should sleep, because no prophet told him that. He's sleeping all the time. And then I start inspiring some more Democrat, like what has been burdened, what has been burdened by what has been, the passage of time. You know, the passage of time. What is the passage of time, huh? Anyway, we continue with the story, which is very complicated. Let us go back to the sperm. So Muhammad now, he answered, he says, as for the child, that's deep. If the man discharge proceed, the women discharge, the child will be a boy and will resemble the man. Now I know what happened between my mom and my dad. Yes, obviously my dad have orgasm first. Bad boy, my dad. What are you doing? What are you doing? Man, look like my dad, he always have orgasm first because he have a lot of boys. Unbelievable. Boys coming, boys coming, boys. Boys. Like boys. Hey, dad, stop. About boys. Boys. Hey, listen. How prophet of Allah, he knew this. Now we know who is in charge of the gender. You come first. Imagine you're having sex with your wife. Would you like to have honey boy or a girl? Well, Prophet Muhammad, he said, if you come first, we will have a boy. If I come first, we will have a girl. And then they decide to have a girl. But it happened that both of them, they come in the same time. What the result of that? Dragon queen. Transgender. I knew it. They come in the same time. Big mistake. So the baby born half girl, half boy. Prophet of Allah knows best. If the women discharge proceed the man, the child attract the similarity of the women. And this is the number of the hadith if you want. Al-Bukhari 3938. Alright? Bukhari. The word sahih in Arabic mean authentic. Al mean the. Bukhari, they call him this way because he's from the city of Bukhara. He is not even an Arab, which is making it more funny. Muhammad in different location, he make it even more clear. He said, the messenger of Allah said, the man water is thick and wide, and the women water is thin and low. Whichever of them comes first, the child will resemble the parents. Pure science. And the Muslims going after a pole. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? What? You cannot believe it. Do we have any Sheikh? Any Sheikh? Who is a Sheikh would like to debate me? Anyone? You are crying now, leave my prophet alone? Okay. I will leave him alone. But with my cat. I forgot to say to you, my cat is a pig. I have a cat, she come to my yard from time to time. She is the most sneaky cat ever. A very, very, very deceiving actor. The second she see me, she extend her body and she start walking in a very weird way. Unbelievable. Like this, the second, like she see me, she start walking like this, you know. And then meow, meow, meow. Like what the heck? What do you want? Meow, 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 meow. Gibberish, Quran. She's talking Quran. By the way, cats, in case you do not know, are Muslims and they don't walk in the Quran. I'm telling you, there's a billion video in YouTube and they've been seen by millions of people, brother. Cats don't walk in the Quran. She's a Muslim. This is why I did not trust this cat to get inside my house. Any Muhammadan? Any Abdul? Nobody? You know the song in Arabic, it says, nobody, nobody know, nobody know, nobody know, nobody, ta-da-dum. Nobody, nobody know how stupid Muhammad, nobody, except me, except me, except me, nobody. Hey Muslims, prove me wrong. This is your small prophet? Women have semen coming from their ribs, and that water is yellow and thin, and it comes from the vagina, and that water make babies? What the heck? What the heck? You know, you Christians, you have to admit that the Muslim, they have a true prophet. Not like you know, you have this guy Paul. What Paul? Muhammad, look at this Muhammad, genius. You know, he's good in everything. Geography. Geography, Prophet Muhammad, he found where the sun set. He found it sitting in a spring of water. And that water is boiling, brother. How Prophet Muhammad knew this information? He's good in everything, geography, biography, biology, neology, teleology, whatever ideology, any ideology. To the point the Muslim, they say, gee, I was sitting behind the Messenger of Allah. By the way, it's very dangerous to sit in the front of Muhammad. I mean, the Muslim, they say he F13 wives in less than 15 minutes. So imagine if you sit in the front of him for 2 seconds. So he was sitting for security reason behind Muhammad, not in the front of him, who was riding a donkey. While the son was sitting, he asked, look, Prophet Muhammad, he have a very serious conversation here. Do you know? See, Muhammad, he want to show his superior, his knowledge. Listen, Abu Dhar. By the way, Dhar mean ants. I mean, the companion of Muhammad, they are the most weird names. The father of the cats, the father of the ants, etc. So this guy is the father of the ants. Do you know where this sat? And he pointed his finger at the sun. I said, Allah and his apostle know best. He said it sat in a spring of warm water. Take a beer. This is knowledge nobody discovered until a very well-known scientist from the West, he came with it. The scientist is a big name in the world. Everybody know about him. You know? Every single person in the world know about him. His name is Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi, from the laboratory of science, she discovered that all the stocks sat in the Congress in her office. So she never buy a stock and lose. They're connected. All the fraud, they go where the sun set. They found where the sun set. The sun set here. Muslims, how Prophet Muhammad knew this information? I cannot describe how much I am excited to hear about your Prophet knowledge. Any Abdul? And you are attacking Paul? I mean, look at the mirror potato. Paul is a wonderful man. Paul is not a scumbag. He did not say any believing woman she offer her vagina to me. Did Paul ask people to pay him before they see him like your prophet? Did Paul says any believing woman my eyes fall into her, her husband must divorce her so I can F her as like your prophet? Isn't it your prophet he have 16 privilege and all of them is about effing and money? And then they say to you, you know, Prophet Muhammad was discriminated. What he got from this? What he got from this? Nothing. Did we have a good time? I know that Saturday not too many people join us because people they go out, except me. I don't, you know, I'm not the person who go out. It doesn't matter Saturday, Sunday. I don't like even to go out at night. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I just lied, by the way. I smoke Muslims every day. I take that back. Forgive me, God. I lied. Every day. I smoke Muhammad every day. Barbecue. Smoke beef. Ya Latif. Last call. Any Muhammadan. Anyone? Nobody? Again, nobody? Nobody know, nobody know, nobody know, nobody. What's wrong with you Muslims? Nobody want to take the challenge and debunk me? English is very funny. Debunk. You bunk. Abdul, you bunk. Can you debunk? Can you? I challenge you. By the way, we were talking about this video here. I don't know how many of you watch it. This is a private, very sensitive story about me. If you want to know what happened when I met this girl, you can go and watch the video. It's a short video I posted today. This woman, she stole my heart. That's why I don't have heart now. It's gone. This is what women do. They steal two things: your wallet and your heart. Usually your wallet only. So if you do not watch it, don't miss it. It's very, very attractive. You will love it. By the way, me as a Muslim, I can let you borrow her. Seriously. All right? Because Muslims believe in mut'ah and exchange women, as you know. You can read my book, Sex and Allah. Monday morning here. What does this have to do with my topic? Guys, check what this guy was eating. Monday morning here. So if you like to see what happened between me and her, watch the video. Maybe the admin, he can post the link for you. And don't forget to leave a comment. So you will be blessed by Allah if you leave a comment. All right? What is a Skype link? Why? Are you a Muslim? Can she walk and talk? What are you talking about? Please don't hurt my feeling. Honey, forgive them. They don't know how tasty you are. Yum, yum. Go watch the video and thank me for it. Let me post the link for you. Actually, I should not give the link. You have to be 18 years and older, by the way, to watch it. All right? If you are if you are a Muslim, 6 years and older. Because Aisha, she was at the age of 6 and she was ready for 6. All right? So I'm not going to keep you longer. I hope you have a good time. We have Abdul. Okay, give me his name in Skype. Let me give you my Skype. If you have Abdul, do you want to call me in Skype or you want to call me in Discord? Which one you want to call me? Any Abdul? You want Discord? No problem. Okay, I will open Discord just for you. See how generous I am. All right. We will call it examined. One oh one. All right, Abdul, come. Come fast. I don't have much time left. Can you guys hear me in Discord? Am I heard? All right, very good. Join us, Abdul. We are waiting for you. Mostly it's just a potato coward, you know. You claim that you want to call me, but you don't dare.
Reefer, I want to.
Where are you, Abdul? False promise of false Muslim. Any Abdul? Any Abdul Sheikh? Well, as you see, they are potato liars, you know. Liars. We are trying to invite you. Can you give us 1 day a week? My friend, who are you? The one saying we were trying to invite you. Introduce yourself. Where is the Abdul? You see how coward they are? They claim they want to debate me, etc. It's a lie. A bunch of liars. A bunch of potatoes. Potato, 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 potato. I like to dip the skin. I like to burn it in. I like to fry it all. I use no petrol. Potato, potato, potato. Any Abdul? What a bunch of potato. You made me come to Discord for nothing, you potato? People will laugh at you now. If you like to go to heaven and Allah give you extra virgins, come and fight against the crusade. Christian Prince. The only Muslim who is not afraid of calling me is one person only. Christian Prince. First of all, I told you I am not afraid of you. Exactly, Naik. I'm just telling them, hold on. I say there's only one person. I was going to say your name. You jump like a monkey in the middle. Get the breath. I don't allow you to call me monkey. Okay, like chimpanzee. Because you jump right away. Let me finish the sentence first. You see, I'm going to talk about you. I was talking about you. I want to show them that the only brave one who called me is Dr. Zakir Naik. By the way, Zakir, where you get your degree from? Good breath. First of all, I got many degrees. Which one you are talking about? The degree about the camel urine. Where you get that from? Good breath. First of all, I never get the degree in camel urine. I got my degree in shit. No shit. Absolutely. So there is anyone besides Zakir Naik would like to call me? No. Nobody. All right. Don't forget to watch this video here, the one I post for you, and leave your comment and give it a like if you like it only. Don't bribe me. Don't tell me I like it if you don't like it. Be sure. Don't practice taqiyya, okay? Allah will punish you. Because taqiyya only for Muslims. Only Muslim can practice taqiyya. What a religion. Alright guys, sorry people in Discord. I am going to close Discord. I opened it just because Abdul, he said he want to join us. But as you see, he's a potato. They say what they don't do, and they do what they don't say. So thank you, Discord. Let me close. God bless you. You can go to YouTube, and you can guys subscribe in Patreon. Don't donate. You don't need to donate. It's for free anyway, and you will receive notification right away, because YouTube always don't send notification when I'm going to go live. All right. So feel free to join there. Thank you. All right, guys. I hope we had a good time together. Feel free to download my video, share it, and learn, educate your children. Don't be shy, and don't wait. Otherwise, you will be late. Your children will be exposed to all kind of evil. Don't be shy to speak against all what Muslims and liberals say. Both of them, their God is Satan. Don't be a coward to share your faith. Otherwise, don't complain if your son or your daughter become a gay or a Muslim later. The man and the woman who don't attend their garden is going to be taken over by the weeds. Don't let the weeds take over. Even paradise will turn into hell, will look scary if the weed take over. And you know that. And if the weed take over you, it's your fault. It's not the fault of anyone. And as you see, we sit with you every day for many hours. I spend the whole day helping people, either answering email or speaking to people who don't want to talk in public like Muslims. So we help them to leave Islam. So do your part, teach your kids, and show them, give them the teaching we are doing is a vaccine against any disease from the liberals or from the Muslims, because both of them is one coin, two faces. Both of them are awkward and backward and wicked. And the Lord, he says, peace for those who love peace, and no peace for the wicked, the Lord said. And always remember that our Lord, our Savior, his name is holy, his act is holy, his life is holy, his teaching is holy, for he is our holy Lord. And Muhammad is dead, and I will be dead, and you will be dead, but the living Messiah is not. And he said, whoever believe in me and die, he will live. And if the Lord is with me, who could be against me? And that goes for all of us. Always remember that God is good So is Jesus, and we are the crusade. See ya.